Hello, everyone, and welcome to An Hour with Dave, a straight shooting talk show that doesn't hold anything back. You either love the show, hate the show, love me, hate me, doesn't matter, but it's the show you want to watch. 1 Hour with Dave. Everyone, and it's good to be here once again, getting to meet the family and talking to everybody again. And today's going to be a really interesting show for you. Because we got a very, very interesting guest. To introduce him, I want to make sure that everybody understands and remembers that the show is An Hour with Dave. The show is mine, and it's my opinion on the show, and mine only, and my guest. It is not the opinion, anything that's said here, the opinion of USALA. So you love me, you love me, you hate me, you hate me. It's cool. But no matter what happens, it's all on me. It's not on USALA Media. Okay? So, moving forward, an interesting guest here, which is Chris. And Chris, if I do say your name wrong, put your last name, get on. This is Mundiath. And Chris is the chairman of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly of Pennsylvania. Pretty heavy-duty group. Heavy-duty title. They're moving in the states. I'm not going to spoil the fun because I'll have Chris talk a little more about it and what the plans are, what's happening for Pennsylvania and also other cities around, because it's time for Hispanics to kind of wake up, smell the coffee, and look towards where you're going to get the best benefits and help and who's actually going to be doing the fighting for you. We're kind of slacking on that. So with that said, Chris, did I pronounce your last name?
Yeah, you got it close enough, David. That's okay. Pretty good.
Beautiful, beautiful. Chris, you want to people about yourself?
Sure. Well, my name is Chris Mundiath. I'm chairman of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly of Pennsylvania. And we are a brand new organization with Hispanic outreach, and we just want to reach out and engage the Hispanic community. I ran for state representative in 2018. Lost the election, unfortunately, but I'm keeping out there and keeping active in the Republican Party. So I'm embarking on a new journey.
All right. And tell us about the organization.
So we're a national organization. We was formed in about the mid-1960s under Richard Nixon, and our goal is to engage the Hispanic community with the Republican Party. You know, what's funny, David, is that the Democrats have such a huge leverage on the Democratic Party or on the Hispanic community here. And it's important that the Republican Party does so much more to engage the Hispanic community. We are conservatives, and we are here to work, and we're here to make money, and we don't need government to interfere with our lives. And that's the whole point of this organization. We want to bring the conservative message to a group of people, a huge voting block of people who are already here anyway, and who make up a huge portion of the United States population. And we're growing seemingly by the day. So it is super important that we reach out to these people. And our organization's big in Florida, Texas, California, and it's time to we do the same thing here in Pennsylvania. I could point to, there was a town in Texas right above the border that 70% voted for a Republican mayor, which is unheard of. We've been flipping seats in Miami-Dade County, I believe in California as well. So it's extremely important that we work in Pennsylvania as well, because there are a lot of Hispanics in different counties, Lehigh County, Montgomery County, Philadelphia. And it's important that we reach out and just engage the community. There's no reason why Democrats should continue to have the upper hand here. I think, again, we're here to work. Most of us here love this country, and we want to provide for our families, and that's sort of the whole point.
Well, definitely, we need to grow, and we need to get involvement with Hispanics, and I'm kind of glad that this effort is being pushed forward, because one of the issues that I hear in some of the counties and in other states and speaking to people that I know, is that the Republican Party lacking conviction, lacking in an effort to reach out to the inner cities, not only Hispanics, inner cities in general. They just don't. I know that I ran here for, and it was a tremendously effort because the support. We had a guy that ran for governor and get him the budget when it comes to the Hispanic community, etc. And Republican, and I do a lot. God help, not me alone, but church members and pastors. And we all do a lot. And we've been in the process of even last 2 weeks ago, we had our first seminar where we taught people how to do some lobbying to their state reps and their congressmen and senators, etc. And we even had people come on and to the people who were in we had a class of about 40, 50 people that came out. But we needed more of an effort because it just seems for some reason when it comes to the inner cities, we couldn't get the Republicans motivated. And I'm kind of really glad about you and the organization and the C, because, we do have Hispanics and all over the country. And example is, like you said, what happened in Texas, what's happening in Florida, what's happening in California. There's a big movement, and 2024, I think we will be the number one body vote that'll be voting. So we need to get active. We need your organization is not, I like it because it's coming in, right?
Right.
And it's not coming on just an election period to try to get a couple votes and then they're moving on, because efforts are starting to grow. And that makes difference, because one of the things that you'll get to learn about me, and we've been speaking back and forth, it doesn't matter to me what party you're with, because if you come into my community, I tell you, you screw up. I don't push anything because they're Republicans or they're Democrats or they're independents. I don't play, not on my radio shows, not in public, not in events. I don't even have you come to one of my events if I catch that you're in as a political person trying to get a couple votes, and a turkey on Thanksgiving, and that's it, because let them all be Democrats, because it's not going anywhere. You're not really doing anything. So I appreciate what you're, and I'm going to support you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. And, I've been wanting to do this for a really long time. I'm an immigrant from Peru, and I came here when I was 6 months old. So I love this country. And what I did see was a lack of sort of structure in the Republican Party, that there was no plan or strategic plan to get into the inner cities and reach out to certain communities. When I ran for state rep, I spent probably 80% of my time knocking doors in Norristown, which is the capital of Montgomery County and a part of my district. And I've been told by many people that it was a complete waste of time because I'm never going to get their votes. And while I didn't win any polls there, I spent 80% of my time there because I believed that they wanted somebody who's a part of their community. And they wanted somebody who is going to go out and lay the groundwork and knock doors and get to meet people and just talk to me. I talked to them. I knocked their door and they were surprised to see somebody running for office at their door, let alone a Republican. Norristown is like 4-1 Democrat. And, I think I earned some people's votes just by being at their doorstep and asking them what they care about. On the state level and how I could help them as their state representative. So while I didn't win, outreach is very important, and I think I gained some voters. And there's no reason why any candidate or the Republican Party can do the same thing.
Sure. And I'm going to tell you that I thank God that the few people that are around some tremendous strides in the Hispanic community, and not only there, because I've reached out to the Haitian community and and the Cambodian community and in general in the entire area. But you know, it's like when you said to them, when you use Republican, you might as well say you're showing them leprosy, because that's how they look at the Republican Party.
Right.
I mean, and they look at me and say, "Wow, you're giving out all this food. Wow, you're helping people with paperwork. Wow, you're doing, and you're not charging anything. Wow, and Republican? I mean, we never had Republicans down here. They have no offices. They have nothing. Nothing.
Right.
It's a shame, but it's not only here; it's in other places too. So, yeah, the organization that you're bringing in is a battle. I love a challenge, so you know, I don't have a problem with it.
I do too, and you know what? It is challenging. I think one, because we're bringing in a new Republican organization to Pennsylvania. That's always sort of hard to break into. But obviously, the bigger challenge is, Pennsylvania to begin with doesn't have a huge Hispanic community, and most of them that are Democrats, and others who are here happen to be illegal immigrants. But what I've noticed specifically in Norristown is that their kids are born here and they're turning 18 and they're going to be voters. Like, why not reach out to them? It's super important, to engage them in the political process. And I personally felt as an example of that, to sort of take on that leadership role, so I can show that you can be a Republican and a Hispanic in Pennsylvania. It's not something that should be found just in California, Texas, Florida, or anywhere else. So while it's challenging, it is also very fun. I love a good challenge as well. And, we're working with the national organization, to work here in Pennsylvania. CPAC Dallas was this past weekend, and our national chairwoman spoke there for a good hour. And so our organization on the national level is teaming up with CPAC to be the go-to for Hispanic outreach. And that's included right here in Pennsylvania.
Wow, that's fantastic, because I want to get with you, because I want to reach out to all these individuals and in the cities that we're at, because one of the things that I want to bring them on and actually do maybe some satellite shows and showing people that, look, we really do exist. We're really out here, and promote what's happening with the organization. And to show that, you see, there are people that care. That just because you got an R doesn't mean you don't care. Just not used to it. Let's face it, they're not used to it. But I want to do that. And again, I want to let you know that I'm going to support 100%.
Okay. Thank you.
And we're going to take a break in 2 minutes, and then we'll talk again. But I'm going to support 100%. And also in my private, I have Freedom Tyranny, which is my website. And I'm going to be dedicating an entire section of Freedom Not Tyranny organization, and getting you to be able to come in and update DEAR, because that's going to be going across the entire United States.
Awesome.
And have you also come to the Rumble show, because I have a podcast on Rumble also. So we'll continue to bring you here, and we'll continue to bring you on Rumble. But on the Freedom Not Tyranny, we're going to have a section for people to constantly come in and see what's happening, especially people that we're going out new to reach out to. I have a lot of stuff I want to offer you and do and work with you guys.
Thank you.
But we're going to take a commercial break, my brother, and then we're going to come back and talk about what we have plans for Pennsylvania. Hello, everyone, and welcome to An Hour with Dave, a straight shooting talk show that doesn't hold anything back. You either love the show, hate the show, love me, hate me, doesn't matter, but it's the show you want to watch. 1 Hour with Dave. And welcome back, everybody. And I hope you're getting the message and you're excited, because we got Chris, and Chris is going to be with us for a long period of time. He's going to be regular here. He's going to become a regular on the Rumble. He's going to be on the Freedom Not Tyranny website. We're going to team up with his organization 100% and making sure that the message gets out, because this is a new image and a new stage that you look at here with Chris. So once again, on the second part, I'm going to ask Chris to quickly introduce himself, and then we can talk a little bit about some of the plans that we have for going here for Pennsylvania. Chris.
Thanks, Dave. Again, my name is Chris Mundiath. I'm chairman of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly of Pennsylvania, which is a Hispanic outreach organization for the Republican Party. And I'm looking forward to being with you, Dave, here and on your other podcasts as well. And I'm just really excited, to see what we can do here in Pennsylvania.
I think that the good thing about it is there's nothing. So we really got a clean slate. There's a blank sheet of paper, and we literally can move and draw anything we want on it, because there's nothing there.
I love that.
So it's going to be fun. And I know you've reached out to the counties, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I've reached out to probably every county in Pennsylvania. I started right here in southeastern Pennsylvania, Montgomery County, Bucks County. I've reached out to Allegheny. What I've always found so funny is even in some of the more populated counties, I call them up and I'm just like, hey, like I started this new Hispanic organization. Do you know any Hispanic Republicans? And there's always this moment of silence, for a brief 5 seconds. And it's always, oh, I'll get back to you on that. I think I only had one county, which was Lehigh County, that actually knew a Hispanic Republican, actually somebody who's running for mayor of Allentown, Tim Ramos, who's also a member of our organization. So there was one county who understood what we were doing and happened to know a bunch of Hispanic Republicans, but most of the time it is just silence. And so far I haven't heard back from any of these counties, even after a follow-up. So it is interesting, but I've called just about every county in Pennsylvania. Even the ones who I looked on Wikipedia had just 1% or 0.2% of Latino population. Why not? You got to give it a shot.
Yeah, but and I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna be fun, because even when I'm walking around, sometimes I'll have people who have come to the office or have come to my door, knock on my door, because I get a lot of people knocking on my door, and they'll knock on my door, and they're under their breath to say, I am a Republican, or I voted for you, even you're a Republican, and then you see them looking from side to side. I'm like, it's okay that you voted for me, it's all right. Oh, okay. But they have this fear. Funny to see them with this fear. I want to propose in Philadelphia that we put an entire marketing plan and a reach out plan that actually shows the pros and cons, shows them how they they just give you a turkey, and they just and you're being a sucker for that turkey, and they just give you a couple of crumbs, but Hispanics, like in Philadelphia, there's major jobs that we don't have access to. For example, the city trash department. You could ride up and down on trash day, and you're lucky if you see 5% Hispanics work in the trash department. You go to City Hall, and you can't find them unless they're working directly for the political council person we have.
Right.
They just ain't there. You go to traffic court, I have to wait for an interpreter. I've been in departments when I was filling out legal papers in one of the departments to get a court day. I've had to stop filling out papers just to help somebody who was Spanish, because you had an office of about 6 people and not one Hispanic. This is City Hall. This is what our people have gotten used to, and organizing them, letting them know what you can do, letting them know what you can come up with. It's going to take some time, but if we get people like yourself, young, me, who's un viejo ya, um,
They're not that
and
old.
involved, and we start to show them. But I show them, like I tell people, oh, the city's so bad, the damn Republicans, and I'll say to them, the city is really bad. Mira la basura, look at the trash. Mira esa calle, look at the streets with piles. Yeah, yeah. It's horrible the way it's running, isn't it? Says, yeah. I said, and guess what? What? Republicans don't run this city. By Democrats for 50 something years. And when I show them, they go, really? I said, yeah. And guess what? How many times the last 5 elections? I vote every time. I said, you kept voting for the same person that was over that pothole. Person that was not getting you the jobs in the city for the trash department. Person that Social Security's in trouble.
Well, you know what, David, you talk about fear, and it's absolutely true. I know several business owners who are Hispanic who run successful restaurants and shops in Norristown, and I asked them how they felt about President Trump when he was president at the time, and they say, you know what, I don't really like the guy personally, but I can't argue with his economic policies, but that's not something I'm going to tell people, because then they'll come back at me and they'll boycott me, and I'll never make any money. There's so many examples of that. I also know another guy who wanted to run for council of Norristown, and he's a pastor of a local church. And he approached me and our area leader and said, hey, I want to run for council. I want to bring change. I want to be a representative of the Latino community. I have about 200 people in my congregation. And, I said, great, let's do it. And all you had to do was get 10 signatures. That's pretty obtainable in Norristown, despite it being a very Democratic town. But I get a call 2 weeks later from our area leader, and he says he's not doing it anymore. I asked why, and he said, well, apparently the Democrats indirectly threatened him, and they said they were going to do something about his church, and they gave him a position on some sort of planning commission panel or something like that of Norristown. So the fear is very real, and when you have a Democratic, as they call it, machine running the county, when they're running Philadelphia, they do such a good job, unfortunately, of putting people off and turning people off away from anything else but themselves and their organization, their motives and their agenda, which is really unfortunate. But that's the way that they operate, and it's about time that we do something to counter that. One thing that's always intrigued me about the Democratic Party is that their actual party does so little, but they have all these appendant bodies. They have the Black Caucus, they have the Latino Caucus, they have the Asian Caucus. Arguably, the NAACP, it's technically nonpartisan, but for the most part, they're mostly Democrats. I don't think anyone would argue with that. So they have all these sort of groups going out there, the grassroots organizations, and they're the ones going out into the communities, and they sort of create this coalition under the Democratic Party, which isn't under the DNC officially, but they're working together to get out there and talk to the community, have events, whether it's shredding or car washes. So when somebody goes to that car wash, they don't talk politics, but when they go to the polls, they say, I remember that guy, I'm going to vote for him. Or they had some sort of, a blood drive, a community oriented thing where, it's helped, like charity. And, when they go to that, when we go to the polling places, they are going to remember the people that helped them out. And that's what we need to do. And that's what the RNHA is about. In Pennsylvania, I have a lot of plans to have things like that on a local level. I know you're doing so much in Philadelphia, and we would like to work with you to make sure that we have those same initiatives, so we can do the same thing. In Cumberland County, which is one of our 2 chapters right now that are active, they're going to have a cleanup event, something that's not political, but when people go and participate, they'll remember the people that were there when they go to the polls. So those are the things that we want to do here in Pennsylvania. And when I bring this to the attention of the Republican Party, it seemingly, people look at me like I have 2 heads. They ask me why I do that. And I say, well, it's obvious, because we want, people to know that we're here, number one. And 2, it will help us, bring people to the polls and have people recognize us. It's not rocket science. Anybody can do it. But I think our organization, we want to go in the direction of, community oriented. And so we can get in front of these people more than the state party has.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying that I always stand ground and I say, you know, even though I've been a Republican all my life, literally all my life, um, I'm the first number one critic of them. I criticize them. I say what I got to say. Um, I don't believe in 100% of what they're doing because I see they're their own worst enemy. I mean, the Democrats don't have nothing to lose because there's no other option in the inner cities. So that's why I'm so proud of what you're doing, and what the Hispanics are doing in bringing this to the inner cities. It's going to be able to give them an entirely different structure. Um, I'm already, and when we get the time now, I'll start sending you the plans I have. Like I did an immigration piece. I have a few petitions that are getting ready to go out. I have bringing up, like for example, the $50 bill and the $100 bill. We're doing a Christian Holy Month that we're putting together, that we're going to petition for. There's a whole lot of things that I'm doing because I want to prepare for 2020. If we could start doing that now, and we could start getting the counties and the city and saying, listen, you know, it's not like that. You know, you had this group doing this for a long time, and but give them where to go and give them the facts.
Exactly.
You know, gotten this job, you know, when they say they're giving it to minorities, but they give it to a minority, and I don't want to be African American minority, but if they give it to the African American, then they gave it to the minority, and you're not included, and that makes a big difference when you get caught up in that. So I don't want to take anything away from any of the communities that have, but I think it's time that we look at our educational system, social security system, our SSI system, and our jobs out here, and say, listen, you're the biggest body of votes coming. Yes, you need to look at the next mayor and say, do you really want our vote? Because you're not going to get our vote if we ain't getting these jobs. You're not going to get our vote if we don't get to talk to the teachers union. You're not going to sit here and say that every white person is racist in our community when it's our people shooting ourselves. Because I tell them all the time, there's no white people running up and down in Philadelphia shooting people. There's none of them wearing a Ku Klux Klan suit, jumping up and down on the corner with a cross that's burning. Sure. We're shooting ourselves. You know, we close our own business closed down. You know, you had a governor that wouldn't do jack shit for us. You got our churches closed down, and you got bars open. Now they want to have kids get the COVID vaccine without having parents' permission. Go ahead, give it to a kid that may have a heart condition and you don't know about it, and they get an adverse reaction, and then they don't explain to people that that's an experimental drug. So our people ain't gonna have the right interpreters talking to them about what's going on. They're just telling them to get the shot. You know, like this is need to come in and educate, put out flyers, put out information, you know, have them come to seminars. Say, listen, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, or Independent. Come to the seminar, sit down and listen, ask a couple questions, you know, but don't come in there with bullshit. Because you come in there just to disturb things, I will tell you, you need to get the hell out. You know, and I think that's the attitude we got to come up with when it comes to growing what you're trying to do, is that we need to go hardcore. We need to give it, but everything that we do has to be factual, has to be where you can tell them this is the way to check on it. This is the history of it. Like, for example, forcing people to take shots. Back in, what was it, 18 something, 19 something, when they were sterilizing women so they couldn't have children. simply because they said, oh, they're not mentally stable, or they're on drugs, or they're drinking, and they got no way of supporting anything. So they were sterilizing women. Ain't nobody talked to people about that. I don't even know if you knew it. Back in the days, they were doing that to people. You know, when you had the nuclear family, when it comes to African Americans and Hispanics, you know, when you're married, you know, we're going to give you more food stamps and more cash. You know, so they destroyed the family nucleus where now there's not a parent, there's not two parents in the house. And we allowed it to happen. You know, what is it, 50 million abortions at least? Most of them, 2/3 of that is our own abortions.
Right.
Well, why are we doing this? Most Latinos are Christians. Why aren't we explaining these details to people? You know, but listen, I'm with you, man. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna push you. I'll push the organization. So you sure you want to team up with me?
Oh, I'm positive, David. You know, I heard so many things about you. We're still on board.
So all right. So I'm gonna. I know the show's about to end. I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Some other time, but I do want you to come back on the Rumble or here and bring back the powers to be, so we can talk a little more. Explain to them what I explained to you about Freedom Not Tyranny website that we're gonna push you a lot on, and get you to kind of be able to put some blogs in about what you're doing and keep up with it with people. I'm gonna keep up with Philadelphia, but if you have things that you want to put up with your organization, I'm sure you have a website already.
Yeah, we do have a website. Yep.
We can push members back and forth and get them to understand. Because one thing I learned is you can ask everybody, can you talk to one other person? And by the way, ¿tú sabes alguien en Nueva York? Chances are, yes, they do. Do you know anybody in Chicago? Yeah, because we got somebody over there. And that's where we've lost the touch. And we need to get back to that and say, listen, come on, man. You know, call your cousin in Houston. I call my people in Houston. I call my people in New York. I say, listen, this guy's running. He's really cool. Check him out. You know, and explain to them, especially when it comes to November. Listen, you don't have to vote your party if the guy sucks. You know, see, I'm straight. Nice because I'm here, but I'm telling you, that's the way I deal with people. You vote your party, and then in November, you look at what he or she said on this side, he or she said on this side, and figure out which one of them is better. In November, you vote for that person. You don't vote necessarily your ticket, because that's a stupid vote. You vote your ticket, it's a stupid vote. I vote for the better person in November when I close that curtain. That's the way I educate people.
A good way to look at it, David.
You know, but listen, it's a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
I'll call you tomorrow if it's okay. We'll coordinate when you're coming back. Get you to talk to your people. Give you a couple, unless you want me to give you a couple of days, and see how they feel about what's going on. And let's get this rolling, man.
Sounds good. We're looking forward to working with you. Thanks for having me on, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. Bless, my brother.
All right. Take care, David.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to An Hour with Dave, a straight shooting talk show that doesn't hold anything back. You either love the show, hate the show, love me, hate me, doesn't matter, but it's the show you want to watch. 1 Hour with Dave.